Hey everybody, welcome to No Breakaways, your source for all the Zwift racing tips and tricks. We're back for another week of Outside the Draft with two of my favorite people in the whole world. We have Jordan Shane, pro cyclist for Elevate Webaplex. He's on Finesse Esports. Jordan, what is going on?
Oh, a lot of stuff's going on. We're getting ready to go back to the promised land, to the US on Thursday to start racing on the road. So yeah, a few butterflies about that. We're going to do a 100-kilometer crit as the opener of the season. So game on.
And okay, so first of all, we've told you that 9 out of 10 people have active COVID cases, correct?
Sure.
Yeah. Okay,
I think as a healthy 29-year-old, I think the 100K crit with 7 corners a lap is a little more dangerous.
So yeah, we want to introduce, well, let me introduce Jackie, and then we're coming back to this crit, unless Jackie has something even better than a 100K crit. So we have Jackie Godby, MD, PhD. I'm going to stop saying that at some point, but it still sounds super cool.
Thank you.
We have like a doctor on the show. Cyrus Pros Closet, 4S Endurance, Noon Sports, nailed it 2 weeks in a row. I'm so good at this. Jackie, what's going on?
Not nearly as much as exciting as Jordan. I spent a weekend in Michigan with my friend, taking a well-deserved sort of graduation trip, and found out that paddleboarding is terrifying.
Terrifying? It looks so awesome and chill.
Yeah, chill is the problem. It was 60 degrees and the water was much colder, and I knew if I fell in, that was going to be a full hour before I got back and into anything remotely warm. So
yeah,
terrifying.
Okay, fair enough. Well, before we get into this crit, I gotta brag. My FTP went up 20 points just today. So
hot damn.
I know, because despite the fact that you two never test your FTP because you're amazing athletes and constantly in shape and all that, those of us who maybe aren't quite as dedicated, our FTPs fluctuate a lot more. So after I lost 40 watts, I've gained back half of that. So
wow.
Congratulations, that's awesome.
It was a good day.
20 watts today, 20 watts tomorrow. You'll be a World Tour pro by the end of the week.
Well, here's the thing. In the last 3 weeks, it went up 20 watts. So, Jordan, maybe I'll join your team. I'll join Elevate soon, even though I have no handling skills, but I'm good at Zwift, so what difference does it matter? Same, right? You can ride through people's butts outside too, yeah?
Yeah, it's a bit of a commotion when you do, but you can definitely try.
Okay, let me know when you want to go on a group ride, all right? It's going to be fun.
Just remember, you have to decelerate into turns.
No, I don't believe in that. I don't believe in that. I'm going to pedal going 100 kilometers downhill. I'm going to not brake in turns, and I'm going to ride right through people.
Wow, it sounds like you're learning how to do a crit already, actually.
Yeah. Okay, so let's get back to this crit. So a 7-quarter crit, how long is the lap?
I think it's 100 laps, if I remember. I did it.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, there's actually a feed zone in the crit because it's so long.
How
does that work?
I don't understand.
There's like one straight that's like 20 seconds long, maybe, and that's what we use to get a bottle, because it'll be like 100 degrees and 100% humidity in DC probably. So yeah, it's full on. Usually a breakaway laps the field in that because it's so long, and usually it's like full on 100% effort for the first 45-60 minutes, and then it's a death march, like a pretty fast death march, but still, like, that's a long time, man. So yeah, I'm really excited about it though. Like, we'll see. I don't think any of us have any context of how it feels to come back to racing after 15 months. So
I have to clarify, is this Jordan Shane dry humor I'm very excited about it, or is this Jordan Shane I'm actually really excited about it?
I'm excited about it. Like, I'll just be with the boys, which is the best part. I haven't seen my guys in so long. So yeah, and I think we have some top riders too, some great sprinters. So we always have a chance to win, and that's there's some big money, relatively speaking, as well. It's it'll be full on, and the atmosphere. I'm not built for crits, as you can probably see, but it's still, the atmosphere is unbeatable at the crits. So, there's Tulsa the next week is like 5,000 people. Twilight, people barbecuing and drinking beers, watching you race. So it's pretty cool.
That's awesome. So, okay, and I was wondering about this during the week. I admittedly, I don't know a ton about outside racing. I know some, but you are more or less a domestique. Is that correct?
I'm a domestique when it comes to crits.
Okay.
I can go up hills really good, and I can time trial really good. So
That's right. You're provincial or Canadian national champion time trial, right?
Provincial champion, and I've been top 5 in Canada in the time trial, and we're pretty good at time trialing here. We've had some top riders. So yeah, anyway, and when it comes to the crit, it's like, I can get in a break, but you definitely don't want me to be the guy sprinting for the team. It's not going to end well. I don't think I've ever won a sprint in my whole life. So
okay. So like in this crit, what is your job? What do you do? Or are you just like there?
yeah, we'll see. I think that's a flat one. There's one in Tulsa with a hill in it where, I can be aggressive and try to finish alone or whatever. But this one, it'll probably be to try to be in breakaways, but always with a sprinter, so I can help my teammate and make sure they never hit the wind, or close things back with dangerous. If we're not represented in the breakaways, that's how crits goes. Basically, it's very hard to get off the front, but we don't stop trying the entire time. And so, the teams have to cancel each other out, the big teams. And if you stop canceling out, you're going to lose. So It's kind of, it's a dance until the music stops, and like, you better be there.
So how does this level of teamwork differ from what you've seen with like Zwift Premier League in terms of like canceling out efforts, and particularly with such a long crit, 100K, which we have not seen?
Yes.
How are you approaching this race just completely differently?
Yeah. So the difference within real life racing is like the blob does not exist. And as soon as the breakaway forms and it has everybody represented and nobody wants to chase, it's gone. And especially on these technical crits, 600 corners, 700 corners, it's actually really hard to muster a chase, because like, if the breakaway is doing 29 miles an hour, where are you going to make that up? You can take the corners at the same speed. Sometimes the breakaway can go faster because it's a smaller group. So the level of teamwork is super important. We take turns covering those attacks and bringing stuff back. And when something goes, it's like kind of like if you're out on ice and it starts to crack, you got to go very quickly. Because if that gap extends, all of a sudden you're nowhere and it's over. So yeah, it's really make or break, because there's no momentum behind. Like you'll see if you actually got to watch the first hour of a Grand Tour stage, when the breakaway goes and everybody decides that's it, we'll start going 20K an hour because it's, that's the breakaway, and maybe we chase it back later. But in the crits like this, if the breakaway goes and people are happy with it, game over. So yeah.
Okay, so I have so many questions. First of all, if the breakaway goes and we decide that's good, well, you decide that's good. What, like, you keep riding though? Like, is there advantage on like? Are there points or how do you get money? How do you win the race? I mean, obviously I know how somebody wins the race, but like what's the
crits are interesting, right? Because you already identified a dynamic where it could be potentially really boring. Is like if the pack's happy and we just sit up. But they'll call preems that are for the pack only. So people be sprinting just for like your Zwift sprint, ZRL sprints. They'll sprint, and the breakaway doesn't count for those. So you can win. Sometimes it's like, $500 just for one sprint. And you just go over and over and over again. And there'll always be a little team and sometimes a big team that did miss it, and they'll chase and they'll chase and they'll chase and they'll chase. And usually it doesn't work, but you'll have your director in your ear and be like, that's your only play left. You better chase it down. And then, a lot of the time the breakaway never goes, and there's a team, like a Legion, because they have the best sprinter, in the game, sometimes with Justin Williams, or we have the best sprinter with Sam Bassetti or Alfredo or one of our guys. that'll purposely keep it together the whole time. They will chase everything, and they'll chase it in a way where it's not a big attack to go over to the break. It's a steady wind back. And so, the breakaway might get 3 seconds, just like in a lot of CRL races, 3 seconds, and then brr, and you just do it. That's your job all day. Brr, always see if somebody else will do it for you. But yeah, sometimes you want to keep it together for a sprint because that's your best chance at winning. And that's those are the tough days. Actually, those are pretty miserable because it's never over. But yeah, it's very complicated, and that's why crits are really great to watch. It's like a condensed bike race. You see all the tactics, 100 times basically.
Is this going to be broadcast? Can we see Jordan Shane riding 100 laps?
I don't know what the format is exactly this year, but usually it's USA Crits, and that's usacrits.com or something. They do a broadcast. I think you have to pay. It's like nominal membership, but they do a good job broadcasting. Certainly Tulsa. Tulsa is the biggest crit of the year, perhaps. The 3 of them, 3 days, and those will be broadcast. So yeah, check it out. And better yet, if you ever get a chance to go to these in person, pretty cool times.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So real important question of the day now. What are you eating once you're done?
Not much. This is a pretty vomit-inducing kind of effort.
Night after, recover for a few hours, and then what are you going out? How are you rewarding yourself?
It's not a big, like, in terms of, like, you're not digging a big hole in your calorie reserves, like, because the 100K is one thing, but usually these crits are an hour and a half. So, 1,500 calories. It's kind of like the opposite. And because most of the times they're later in the day. And so, like, all day you're kind of just like, should I top up a little more? I don't want to have like too much food in my stomach before this thing. And, you're racing at dinner time. So you can really get it wrong. And conversely, you can also gain like 5 pounds in a crit week because you're like, oh, I should top up the stores again. I should top them up again. And then after the race, I should have a beer. Like, it's a different lifestyle. Crits are rock and roll compared to the Tour de France being the symphony, So it's like a pretty, yeah, you'd be surprised maybe at the amount of crap that gets consumed during these things.
We need to cut that little portion out, like crits are rock and roll compared to the Tour de France being the symphony. I'll put that in Instagram or something.
I didn't invent it.
You didn't.
That's played from somebody.
Oh, what? Listen, I'm gonna cut that part out too. And this is the part. Jordan Shane just made that up on Outside the Draft. That we're gonna play that part.
Oh, there's no such thing as an original idea, so
yeah, you just made it better.
So all right, so Zwift then.
yeah, let's get back. Wait, we could talk about this all the time. All right. So first of all, I'm gonna kind of humble brag a little bit about the channel. I put it on Instagram. Van Diemen, Pim. I don't know how to say his first name. I'm sorry if you're listening, but Pim Van Diemen. He won the Premier League race last week. We talked about him. He actually left a comment on the YouTube video saying how much he appreciated the course breakdown and all that. So I was very happy about that. So kind of cool.
Very cool.
Premier League, at least one Premier League winner, Jackie. Hopefully you watch the videos too, or just say you do, just pretend. But it's kind of cool. It's kind of
hear it from the Premier Leaguers. We know you all watch the videos. Let's hear it. Let's see those comments.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Don't give it free. We don't ask for payment. Like, just shout out a little comment there.
Yeah, for real. And then I'll post it on Instagram and promote my brand.
All right.
It could double, triple the revenue I make here. So, which would still put it at a sound $0. So, yeah, no, that was super cool though. So shout out to him for doing that. Glad to hear that. And I mean, we hear from a lot of people every week about this discussion. We appreciate all the comments. I know there were a couple. We had asked for comments last time. There were a couple comments that were like 3 paragraphs long on different stuff they want to hear about. So thank you for doing that. We do appreciate it. I should have mentioned at the start, I'm going to try to get the podcast of this up this week. It's going to be my first time putting a podcast on there. I signed up for some service to do it. So, and I'll mention this again at the end. This should be available on Google Podcasts, on Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. So, will be pretty cool. It'll be my first pod. I think well, you two have probably been on pods because you're fancy pants pro athletes, but you have not, Jackie? I know Jordan has. You haven't. Okay, so this will be Jackie's first appearance on a podcast. Will be as a host.
It's cool for it to be our podcast because, like, I might be the world's biggest consumer of podcasts. Like, I train 1,000 hours a year, and like 900 of them are podcasts. So, hey guys, yeah, this is pretty cool. I enjoy that. Although I feel a little resentful that I got a haircut for a podcast.
It's true, but it's a good looking haircut. For those of you listening to this on the podcast, just imagine the best looking man you've ever seen in your life. Basically Jordan.
Essentially.
Yeah. Huge rippling muscles when he flexed his arms earlier, and it was just stunning. It really was. So yeah, let's not talk to the podcast people directly, but it should be cool. Hopefully it goes on, no hitches. Otherwise, you only have one throat to choke, and that's me. Leave me all the nasty comments you want. But yeah, let's talk about the playoffs. So teams are qualified for the playoffs. Super cool. I meant to have a whole list of them, but I forgot my daughter had a soccer game today, so I don't have a list of them. But shout out to all the teams who made the playoffs. Congratulations. Super hard fought season. I was looking through a lot of it. Came down to like at the wire stuff. They came out with the playoffs courses. I want to hear from you both about them. For the TTT, we have TikTok. And for the scratch race, Sand and Sequoias, which is a super cool tie-in. All three of us love Sand and Sequoias. So yeah, let's cover TikTok first because I don't think we're gonna have a ton to say about it. Jackie, Jordan, what do you think?
I mean, TikTok is, I think, the quintessential time trial course. And I think as a team time trial course, this takes away a lot of the variability you see, in London or with the hills. It's just so flat. I think it's a good course to revisit the basics, particularly because we have seen so many changing dynamics with the draft this year. I don't think it's going to be technically difficult, but I think it'll give a lot of teams who may have been struggling to really just double down on that teamwork and put in a good effort to cap off the season. So, maybe not the technical challenge of getting somebody up through the London subway station, but a good chance to end the year on the right foot and put a really solid score in for finals.
I think it's going to be as boring as paint drying. Why? I get it. Like, yes, it is the quintessential time trial course, but like we've had such a nice run, like a building momentum of cool courses and unique outcomes. Why couldn't we have a new one? Like, there's so many, when you think about it, we do the same team time trial courses all the time. We got France, Magnificent 8, London, and TikTok, right? Some variation of those. Why can't we just have a brand new course? Like, I would love to see it. Yeah, I don't know. It's technically a little easier, but we do want the cream to rise to the top. So maybe we should have had something that was technically difficult. I had this crazy idea because the new loop around Japan is like 20 minutes.
I thought it was going to be Japan. I would have put money on it being Japan.
I would have loved a team time trial in Japan with the dirt climb. How dynamic would that be? Oh. You could see bike changes in a team time trial.
Oh.
Unbelievable. We could see the galaxy brain stuff. Instead, we got TikTok, I guess.
I think it's good for the teams in terms of, like, you worked super hard to make it to the playoffs. You don't want a bike change gimmick to decide the world champion of A, B, C, and D, right?
Maybe we preclude the bike change, but
no, I love the idea, and I think WTR will do it, but I think they want the world champions to be like, these are the best Zwifters in these categories, right? Like, and if you can do TikTok faster than everybody, you are the best TTT team. You know what I mean?
I also thought, for a more basic option for this, it would have been cool to do like 5 laps of Champs-Élysées, a lap course team time trial. Well, it's flat. It's essentially flat. It's straightforward. Yeah, it's not
Yeah.
going to throw you for a big loop technically, but how cool would that be? You could look over to the other side and see who you're chasing.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I hope stuff like that happens in season 4. But you guys are right. It's
I
probably
think for looped time trials, we still have to figure out the appropriate etiquette for team time trials. I think that's still an issue,
Yeah.
even at the premier level, like figuring out how the mechanics of those passes.
So
I thought
Still
with
working a little. So again, this isn't something we'd want to see at like the end of a season. We're declaring a best of the best. We don't want a technical issue to just kind of muddle that, I think.
I thought about that, and I thought the playoffs might be a cool opportunity because there's so many fewer teams. You could just do like 2-minute gaps.
there's not. There are
there's
14 teams in each division.
Oh.
Because there's
All right.
four.
There
There's
you
4 EMEAs, APAC, and 2 Americas.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, the canceled version of season 1 playoffs, I think, had only 6.
4 or 6.
Yeah,
Yeah. Something like that.
So
yeah.
I stand corrected on
6,
that.
you're right.
Yeah, we'll be fine. I won't watch it, but I think it'll be a worthy champion for sure.
I don't even know if it's getting broadcast. I mean, I'll watch it because my team's in
Why
it.
not?
Draft B, let's go. I didn't mind TikTok. I thought it was okay. I would have put money on Japan though. I would have put money on it being Japan.
I actually think it's really interesting that they paired TikTok and Sand and Sequoias. So the first half of the scratch race is going to be the same as your time trial.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's a
I like both courses individually, but the pairing just seemed a little strange to me in that sense of like deja vu. Okay, here we go again.
What I was hoping for more than anything is that both races were going to be on unreleased Japan maps, and this was going to be the first time anybody saw them.
How cool would that be?
Then you could do a course preview.
Well, I'm not doing a course. I don't do the course previews. But the course previews, they seem like, oh, dude puts together a 10-minute video. How long does it take him? It's like hours of work. So I'm kind of like, well, for this many teams, I was like, no, you guys can figure it out yourself. Plus, my team is in it. So like, I'm not helping those. Not really. But no.
Sand and Sequoia.
Yeah, Sand and Sequoias, I go back and forth. It's going to be a very straightforward race. It's going to be I love the course. I don't think anybody can get away. What do you think, Jackie?
No, it's going to come down to the sprint. I mean, it's New York length hills, but without the New York intensity of gradients.
Yeah.
It's very flat. It's a lovely rolling course, but you have nothing that's just, sort of the gut punch to force the brakes.
Right.
Like you may see some attrition, but in the end, it's going to come down to who's got the best power and the best power up at the right time.
Yeah, and I hate to say it, I feel like.
I think I'm wrong on this TTT course. I just got a
what?
Yeah, it's out and back.
Oh, that's even worse, isn't it?
I don't remember. I don't know what out and back is.
Out and back is a loop around Watopia. It's got some elevation in it. Like there's small hills.
This isn't good. This isn't good. I'll have to cut that out of the podcast.
Rick, what are we doing? What are we doing here?
I thought it was TikTok. My teammate from Draft put a comment on here. Oh, and Adam Zimmerman is giving me the sad face. This isn't good. I'm sorry.
So everybody knows that here's the bus and here's Rick. I'm putting him under it.
Yeah.
I got my information from Rick on this.
Yeah.
So
fact.
But let's look at out and back again is long.
So you got a volcano.
Yeah, 40 kilometers, and it's got a volcano and a reverse KOM. So
that's a great course. I love it.
I take back everything I said. That's going to be full on and very interesting.
Oh yeah, particularly because these are ultimately draftable hills.
Yep. Let's just a reminder for everybody, based on what we talked about on the last team time trial, we do not want to burn a guy up the hill. We keep the group together because the volcano is still 15 kilometers from the finish at the top, and it's a pedaling descent. So do not explode your group up there. You're gonna pay for it. Yeah. So that's
Still
my
not a
open.
crazy hard pedaling descent, though.
But
Like,
you'd benefit from having 6 riders rolling both
yeah.
on that and the rest of the course. I think like you're yeah. I think you want to keep most of your riders over those hills.
Oh,
And it's
yeah.
not going to
You absolutely want to keep them for the downhill, but I think if you're at risk of losing a rider after the uphill, you can, like, that would be the ideal place to, dial it back for a few minutes, let them get their rest.
That's my point. I think is like like let's not go at a pace that kills someone and just drop them for the sake of it, because they can be right on the limit up that thing and then descend for 3.5 minutes almost and like barely pedal and then help you quite a bit after that. But that's interesting. I like that, and it kind of, I guess it makes sand and sequoias a little more palatable. I was just about to say, and do we know that it's sand and sequoias?
I just checked. It's sand and sequoias. I know this is. I should have checked the WT. I don't know why I thought it was TikTok. Maybe I just assumed.
I was gonna say that there's nothing in this for climbers because it's flat, 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 flat. Obviously, climbers can help their team a lot on that TTT. I hazard to say though that on the sand and sequoias, it's going to be the same rider winning the KOMs and the sprints and the race, because that KOM is not that hard. I think it's just going to be a strong sprinter that wins everything.
Yeah, that KOM is really about timing. Very similar to Volcano KOM, the bottom of it is super draftable.
Yeah.
So you just have to stay with the group, wait until your time for the top, and punch it over once it starts to flatten out.
Wait for that lamp post on the right. That's your moment, right?
Yep.
Sorry,
Yeah.
I suppose is that a secret?
I don't know. I don't know. So yeah, and I should say thank you to TR Play One, Derek from Draft B, for the intel there, and hey to everybody watching. Let us know your comments, especially when I'm screwing something up. That was 100%. That was 100% me. I guess we found out we need a fact checker for no breakaways. It'll be a very
That's good content, though. That's good content.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. Sand and sequoias. Here's my suspicion: is I think there are going to be some climbers who just are determined to win that KOM, and they're going to just pound the last minute of that climb, just kill it, just go from way out and try to make it so the sprinters can't do it. I think it'll come back together in the sprint, because there's 3 sprints, is my understanding. Is the first time through, there's a sprint like 5 minutes into the race,
which is good. That's good. Yeah.
but
I almost wish, and I was going to say this last week when we were talking about our favorite courses, I wish there was like a loop where you went to one end of Santa Sequoias and you did a little turnaround and went back through, because I think that constant undulation would be a great ride, a great training ride, and a good race too, because I think it'd be enough. And that reverse KOM is harder too.
Yeah, just sort of a little popsicle loop.
Yeah, but it'll be full on. You'll have to play your cards right as a team if you don't have that primo sprinter. You better figure out some ways to.
you're not gonna.
Points.
I mean, I don't mean this in a bad way, but like if you don't have a top tier sprinter, or probably 2, you're just gonna. There's no way. I mean, all the points, like you guys were saying, all those sprint points are gonna be to the sprinters. I mean, I would anticipate there are going to be 2 packs in these races: the top pack, and then the group of us, of which I would have been in had I qualified for this race. But that group that just can't hang on up to KOM, just not strong enough to stick with the group, so they're not. But I think there'll just be 2 groups on the road, and that's it. Because that second group slows down anyways. They'll just pick up a couple stragglers the second time around.
If you're up against a sprinter or teams with sprinters who like are really borderline climbing, I think if you attack all the way from the first ramp out of the desert every time, just bam, 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 like you could dislodge them. It's a lot. Like it's a 7-8 minutes of like general uphill. You could definitely put a dent in them if they're vulnerable. But like if we got a good all rounder,
they have to be really vulnerable. I mean, you have to be.
I mean, if they gas it going up the hill, you have a second chance to drop them too, because you don't have a straight descent after the hill. And I think that's what makes this course really interesting is, if everybody spends everything to get those intermediate points, you have the chance to drop them again. Maybe this is the chance to say, hey, you want to go for it? I'm going to make you suffer, and just try to kind of shed those sprinters that were aggressive enough to go for the intermediate points.
What I would do is if I had a really good climber and I had a team with some really good all-arounders, I would go hard on that KOM, let the sprinters try to take it, and coming up after that hill, it goes down, but then it goes up, it's like 9% grade. I would just hammer that. I think that's what you're talking about, Jackie.
That's exactly it. And it is so demoralizing if you put everything there and then you're coming up and you're like, oh my God, I forgot this hill existed.
Or if someone's foolish enough to maintain, like, say, a 4-second gap down the descent on the other side, you just catch them on that uphill purposely at 1,000,000 miles an hour. See you later. Game over. That is so terrible to be caught there. Like, the pace partner drops me there. Like, it's Bowie Brevet just kills me there every time because I open up a little gap showing off and then bam. So yeah, be careful. It'd be a hard race to win over a sprinter, but it's an easy race to lose as a sprinter if you get a little cocky, I think.
Yeah, I think, I don't want to give away all the strategy, but I think if I'm a sprinter, I'm not going to go for those KOM points because you have, the sprint is long. First of all, it's a well, for the good guys like Derek who's watching. What's that?
30-something seconds?
Yeah, it'll be 20. The guys can do it in 27. 20 for A's, it'll be 25 to 27. B's, it'll probably be 26, 27. Because
I've never seen that number before, but
I've seen it.
No, I personally.
For you, yeah. No, I've never seen that number.
PR has never been 27 on that.
I know Jackie, don't even chime in on this. We don't want to hear from you on this. I bet you can do 27.
19.
God, no. You got to have like the right draft and the right power up. And that's what I was actually going to say. Like, I think a lot of these intermediate sprints, especially these longer sprints, people come in thinking like, oh God, can't, you're talking about the strategy for the sprinters, like don't go for the sprint, or the climbers, like save the energy for the hill. I think these longer sprints are actually a really interesting opportunity because you have the first 5-10 seconds of the sprint to see what the field is doing and kind of gauge your positioning and see is this going to be a full gas sprint? Like, am I going to have to like kill myself to get these intermediate points? Or is there a good position where I can give, a 90, 95% effort, come in at that, maybe low 30s because I caught a good draft, I dropped a good power up, where, I had to sprint, but I can recover reasonably well. And that's one thing I do like about these longer sprints. You do have that kind of brief moment to gauge the field, and you don't have to go just full gas from the moment you cross the line.
So I'm looking at the power-ups on the WTRL site. So this is real. We have the Arrow helmet, but the other two are the Anvil and the Feather.
Freaking Anvil.
What? The Anvil and the Feather, like...
I don't think I've ever used the Anvil.
I've used it. I used it on Surrey to get... It was great on Surrey with a huge downhill like that. But on Santa Sequoias, I wouldn't use it. I would just junk it because, like, if you get that Anvil on the flats, like, how long is that descent? It's like 30 seconds, isn't it? It's not long.
Yeah.
It only takes a minute and a half to get up.
How long is the Anvil?
30 seconds. I wouldn't use it. I'd junk it.
Yeah, you could, if you got it right at the top of that KOM, you might use it on that downhill. That downhill's like 20-something seconds. So theoretically, you could hold the momentum enough to make it worthwhile.
But a Feather is worthless too. Like, it's such a draftable climb.
Right.
It should have been.
Feather's never useless. Like, even in a final sprint, like, it helps you get up to
a gunfight, though. It's a knife at a gunfight at best in this.
That's fair.
Even on the KOM, like, you want that arrow.
I would have liked to see Draft Van, Burrito, and Arrow Helmet. That would have been my pick. Or Ghost. Or Ghost would have been cool.
Ghost.
Ghost
Yeah,
is Ghost is like just
Ghost
a
would
hand
have been.
grenade. It throws
I think
absolute chaos.
I think the Ghost would have been great if they made it 30 seconds because you could preempt that sprint and just take off and have like a 5-second gap and see you later, everybody.
Yeah.
But Anvil instead. Yeah.
Hey, they're pushing the anvil. They're pushing the anvil.
Yeah, there's some guy at Zwift like, guys, the Anvil's going to be the next big thing. And everybody else is like, yeah, Bill, the Anvil's for sure cool. Yeah.
So I will say somebody wrote a really cool power up article on Zwift Insider the other day. Yeah, it was really good. Whoever wrote that, real genius. Okay, so TR Play 1 is asking, what are the bike choices? 100% Aero. 100% Aero. There's no, I would go Venge and Disc.
Want to.
Or if you're, I mean, you could go Tron too. It's not that much different, but 100% Aero. There's no reason. Those climbs are so draftable. And the key points of this race are going to be for both races, really. And I mean, even the Volcano is really, really draftable. Maybe you could pick the Tron. Maybe. But I mean, most you're going to save is 1 second, maybe 2. And the amount, and you're going to save, I think, more than that on the flats of the rest of out and back. So yeah, I mean, 100% Aero. That would be my.
No doubt.
So yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I'm excited for the playoffs, obviously, not just because my guys are in it, but it's fun.
Well, now your FTP is up to like 400 now, so
yeah. Well, it will be. It will be every 3 weeks, 20 watts. So I'm hoping to get on a Premier League team if it keeps every 3 weeks, 20 watts, 20 watts, 20 watts. So, and then I can race Jackie. Then we're gonna do our person versus person race. Just me and Jackie. 1v1 match race. Because I figure if I gain 20 watts every week or every 3 weeks for the next couple months, by the time I'm ready to race, like in 6 months, my FTP will be the same as Jackie's. So.
And I'll be on surgery, so I'll like swing in, I'll be in scrubs and just be like, hey, like, forgot the bike shorts today, this is how I am.
I love it. It sounds good.
And I will draft you and then try to outsprint you.
The loser has to like wear a MAGA hat for the show or something. Like we have to have a punishment.
Yeah.
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 I always go for public humiliation in the form of singing.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Yeah.
Didn't you? A Disney song.
Yeah.
The loser of this race has to sing their favorite Disney song in its entirety on this podcast as the opening intro.
I want to be really, really clear that I will not be racing Jackie.
We're going to handicap it. We're going to handicap it like Jackie on a mountain bike or something and you on the Tron.
I want more of the handicap than that.
Actually have to ride a mountain bike and figure out how those work and draft.
They just go slower. It's like, imagine just like riding kind of uphill all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even for struggling D racers, that's what TR Play is asking. 100% Aero. You're just, if you think you're going to be off on that hill, you're going to be in trouble on the flats without an aero bike. Like just 100% Aero. 100%
Yes, I think it comes down to the discussion we have last week of like, we do get these really good recommendations from Zwift Insider over the length of the entire course. What's the best setup? And over the length of this entire course, I think you're right. It's still Aero. But then once you do that deeper analysis of what's going to be important, it's the Aero portions. We're not seeing like, where do you need this super light climbing bike for a 15% grade? Because we just don't see that. This race will be won on the sprints. It will be won on downhills. And, if you are concerned about, watts per kilo, the additional half kilo that you might get from a slightly heavier bike is not going to make that difference.
Yeah, and I mean, like, the hill will be decisive in tailing people off. The thing is, like, I don't see this as it's not like you're going to lose 20 seconds due to something. Yeah, Adam Zimmerman says, I go with what looks good. He says that's plus 50 watts. So,
obviously.
I mean,
that's why you got to pick the best helmet that matches your kit.
I have long
Everything.
hair and a beard because it's aspirational. So I
Nice.
prefer my Zwift avatar to be aspirationally me instead of balding and patchy. So
I, on principle, have to race with a helmet. I
Safety first.
Yep, safety
do,
first.
do you have to in Premier League anyways?
No.
Or
No,
maybe Christy Tracy wore that wore those goofy goggles in the newsboy hat or newsy hat or whatever it's called one time.
Yeah.
Tracy's usually rocking like the Great Mohawk.
Is she? Yeah. I
Yeah,
know
I love it.
Anna Russell had a poll on Facebook about different Zwift stuff the other day, and Anna Russell is very into the Zwift fashion, and I am like no socks. And no, we needed to have you on with her, Jackie, because aren't you team no socks with me?
In real life, yes. On
Zwift?
Zwift,
You
oh
need
no.
that song.
On Zwift, I have the knee-high socks, and they must be polka dot because
There you
that
go.
brings good luck for the climbs.
It's Arrow. It's Arrow to have socks, so yeah.
Now,
Or
are you
could
being
just shave your
serious?
legs.
Yeah. Yes. Fabric is faster than skin, Rick. Any triathlete knows that.
I don't even shave
Shave
my
your
leg.
legs.
I don't
That's the
even shave my
easiest
legs
thing
or
to do.
anything.
Nope.
Yeah. I am full on indoor cyclist. Just
Gotcha.
although I did
You
ride
don't.
I did ride out. Amazing. I started an indoor cycling thing.
You never
Yeah,
talk about it.
never. I rode 20 miles outside yesterday though, so that was a big deal. Took me 2 hours. And I was with my son.
Weather-
I was with my son though. So
Was the weather
Correct.
great?
oh, it was amazing. It was amazing. Just it was like 72 Fahrenheit. Be pretty hot Celsius. Yeah, it was just perfect. We have this like beautiful trail, nice and flat. My son was on his BMX bike. I was on my mountain bike. So,
Rick was on the Tron bike.
well, I heard on the KBH podcast. What's the name of that, Jordan? Nor Fast. They were talking about how, like at the Halloween cyclocross races, you should do like a Tron bike and put like neon lights on your bike.
Yeah, that'd be pretty dope. It would be not that hard, actually. I think it'd be really cool.
Yeah. So
Maybe.
maybe I'll race outside just to make a Tron bike outside, and
Gotcha.
I'll put on like a long wig and beard and be my
There's an
Zwift.
IRL Tron kit. It's not light up, but this is a cycling kit that you can order.
Really?
Yep, found
Yeah.
it on Amazon. Got like the bib, the jersey. I
Did
wish
not
it
buy-
lit up.
Did not buy.
Oh, I did buy, and John wore it.
Sorry.
Oh man, we take some good tangents on this show. I gotta say, pretty good.
Yeah, back on track. Back on that agenda, Rick.
Yeah, we're 42 minutes in. We said it was going to be a short
Roll
show.
back.
We are not even halfway through this. Yeah, let's go through Jackie's tactic of the week. Take us away, Jackie.
Yeah. So this one's actually super topical for the upcoming scratch race. And this is going to be how to estimate your sprint finish distance, when to unleash the hounds of hell, everything you got, and just go for it. So when I'm usually looking at a course, I typically say rule of thumb about 200 meters on a flat. If you're at a lower cat, if you're riding a mountain bike, might be 150, just really depends on you and how much time you want. And then adjust it for incline. If you are finishing up a 10% incline, like Libby Hill, you're probably not going to want to sprint for a full 200 meters. So adjust that accordingly. If you were previously sprinting at 40 kilometers an hour and now you're going 20, cut that in half. Or if you're going downhill into a finish, maybe start sprinting earlier just because you're going to be going that much faster. And your goal is to kind of keep that time the same. But, this is all really assuming that you're in charge of the race here. So when you go through at the beginning of the race and you're putting together in your mind, when is that perfect sprint? What would my perfect race be like? That's what you think. But then reality hits. You've got people in the field. You've got other sprinters in the field. And the reality is you need to sprint when the rest of the field starts sprinting. You cannot let a gap form at 215 meters because you're 15 meters away from your ideal sprint start. So kind of keeping in the back of your mind, like, okay, I'm going to get ready to hit that. If they go early, if they go a little late, I'm just going to be ready to respond. And then once you hit that point, once you hit that no holds barred, the only thing you can really do is not give up. You know, with the sticky draft, with responding to the field, once you have a break, you need to take it. You need to, if you manage to be the first person to make that break, keep them from catching your wheel. Like, you're giving them free work. So don't give up. You know, you've got 40 meters left. Don't let them take anything off of your hard work. And same people, if you're on somebody else's wheel, give everything you have to stay in that draft or pass them. They're doing work for you. Why throw that away? And, you know, one of the reasons we really choose kind of this arbitrary 200-meter distance is because that's about the length that most people can really sustain this pedal to the metal effort. So that's my strategy. About 200 meters, give or take, depending on incline, decline speed. Really look to the field, just in case somebody tries to pull a fast one on you, and use a ghost power up and sprint early. And then just give everything you have, because that's what racing is, you know, leaving everything on the line, doing your best, even if it's not the best, and knowing that next time there will be something you can improve.
Awesome. Yeah. So this actually, you know, Adam Zimmerman was watching the show earlier. I don't know if he still is, but the very first No Breakaways video he talked about some of these exact things. He did a good breakdown of it as well. But I love the don't give up part. I know it's something I always fight with every single race. Is like the times where I haven't give up, where I push and push and push. Like, you catch way more people than you think you're going to. And there are people that are so far away you don't think you're going to catch them. And sometimes you just do. And it's, you know, I love that point. That was great.
I mean, what's really interesting is for a lot of these efforts, you know, people are not having their peak power output as they cross the line. Their peak power output is not for, you know, the last 10 meters across the line. If anything, people are starting to decelerate at that point because they gave everything. Their highest power was at, you know, 150, 100 meters from the line as they're accelerating. So even if you're still behind them, if you're able to continue accelerating, if you're able to decelerate less, you know, so you may be dying, but are you dying less than they are? Mm-hmm. And I think that's just something to really hang on to. Like, can you do this for one more second? Can you do this for half a second? You know, can you throw your shoulder into it? It's such a short time. You know, we're looking at these 40-kilometer courses, and, you know, 200 meters is not even 1% of that.
Yeah. And like, I'll recuse myself personally from this conversation because obviously I don't have anything to add physically, but you do see a lot of successful sprinters. They wait for that single moment when those numbers go orange and they respond immediately, but they don't respond with their full sprint immediately because it's still 15 seconds left. And so they snap just enough to stay up, and then bam, like 3 or 4 seconds later, maybe with the power up, because you will get that sticky draft. And so you might as well use that a little bit. And then if you can max power as other people are decelerating, you will maximize your speed through there. And even I have passed people doing that. They had to have really screwed up their sprint, but, you know, a little patience goes a long way. Because that initial spurt right away is probably not where you want to use it unless you're the one initiating the sprint.
Which you probably shouldn't be.
Yeah, unless that's there's some people, some athletes that sprint a whole lot better for 20 seconds, relatively speaking, than they do for 10. And sometimes if that's your game, that you got to be the first one to go, because you're not going to win otherwise. And maybe you won't win anyways, but you got to know. Some people have that super high peak, but it's only 6 seconds long. You know, we see that in the World Tour all the time. Some guys can sprint forever, and some guys are, you know, just at that last second come around. So know your strengths when you're timing your sprint, I guess.
Yeah, I think people are very simplistic about what they think a sprint is, and it's like, my 15 second is 1,000, your 15 second is 900. I'm going to beat you in the sprint. But it's an art. And the reason you see the same people winning the sprint all the time is because they've worked really hard on that art.
Mhm.
You know, and I'm sure, you know, looking here at Jackie, I'm sure you've worked really hard on that art and what your sprint is and where your, you know, where your strengths are.
Yeah, I will fully admit I have spent a lot of time this past year going from the person who didn't understand how to sit in somebody's draft and conserve energy and who didn't understand like when to initiate that sprint and really just watching the women who consistently beat me, like Laura Matson-Co, like Mallory McGrasty, and saying, what are they doing? When do they initiate? When do they pass me? And I think that is, you know, something absolutely everybody can do is look at the person who beat you last race. You know,
Mhm.
look at the person maybe you were with and then passed you in the final. What did they do? What does the person who beats you every week by that much, what are they doing? Because they're probably not, you know, a better athlete, but they've got a strategy. They've got something you can learn and take.
Especially if they're gracious enough to stream and put on YouTube. Definitely
Yeah.
run that tape back.
So
I
funny
really want
that
to know
question.
about the next. I want to know about this next section about your biggest mistakes, guys. I really do.
Okay, yeah.
Uh,
So let's so we're gonna start doing a section called Rick's lazy tip, but I'm lazy and I didn't want to do it this week. So let's skip to the next one because we're long on time actually. Um yeah, so let's get to it. Our one big thing this week is about our biggest mess ups. Um we said applicable to indoors or outdoors. I'm gonna go first just because mine are pretty short and mine aren't fun and Jackie's are. And Joe's Guitar Shop, I promise we will get to your question. So mine, I make these dumb mistakes all the time. And I mean, I just ride indoors, so they're indoors. I forget to fill up my water bottles. I have them sitting right here. And like when I get done with them, I try to throw them on the floor so I don't accidentally grab them when I'm like, but I just forget to fill them up. And then I'm like 2 minutes into a ride and I have to get off my bike or I just do without water and both drive me crazy. Not turning on my heart rate monitor when I'm going to race. Like it's on my arm and I forget to turn it on and connect it. I'm just not paying attention. And I'm like 6 minutes into a race and I'm like, damn it. I mean, I care about Zwift Power. So I'm like, it's not going to count on Zwift Power. And then this one just happened to me this weekend on Sunday. I forgot to charge up my Bluetooth headphones. And like the last is an hour and a half ride, and like the last 30 minutes was just it's not silent around here. It's just hearing Pokemon or whatever my kids are watching on TV or them screaming at each other. And I'm like, oh, I just finished off this ride. So those are my big three. Jackie, you had some
Yep.
good ones
So
here. Jackie's are
I
way
have
better.
also had the dual recording issue. You know, I dual recording's mandatory for Zip Premier League, and I have definitely forgotten to press that button. Drives me crazy. It's like I did all this work for nothing.
And do
But
you get DQ'd when you don't?
yeah,
Oh,
yeah. If you don't have the dual power, you do get DQ'd. Um, and that's the way the game is played. Like there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. So like I said, super frustrating because all you did was forget to press a button. But I do have some more fun ones that'll make everybody here feel a little bit smarter. So we'll stay with the indoors themes for now. During one of my races this past year, I thought that my electronic shifting had run out of power. So I am all alone in the house. John is away, and I'm doing this very hilly course, essentially in a fixie because I'm convinced that my shifting is not working. John comes home, and I like signal to him like on a downhill descent. So I have a couple reads like you got to plug in my shifting. So he does, and the shifting still isn't working, and I'm struggling to figure out what's going on. Turns out that I had accidentally reset my hill difficulty level all the way up, and I was just stuck in my lowest gear for an hour and a half, not knowing. So there you go. In the end, it worked. I was able to figure that out. readjust the difficulty mid-race and finish. So there's a happy ending, but it was a very much like, I am an idiot moment.
So you were trying to like downshift to make it easier, and it just stayed
Yeah,
hard. Just
that was
hard,
all I
hard,
had.
hard.
That was it. Yeah. I was at like 100% intensity, and I knew at the very end there was this very, very steep hill. So I'm just like, flywheeling it. Like my cadence is 120 on these flat sections because I have no gearing. And then outdoors, I've also had a fair share of foibles. I have not one, not two, but 3 times put my triathlon shoes on the wrong feet, to the point where my tri club bought me markers as a year-end present to write left and right on them. During my very first half Ironman, I had a bee fly down my suit while I was on the bike, and so I'm swerving all over the road, throw out all of my nutrition, all of my hydration, with 30 miles left to go, and I am freaking out at this poor bee. Just being like, oh my God. So I have many more stories, but in the interest of time, I'm going to cap on those and just assure you, we have all major mistakes, and I hope mine personally make you feel a little bit better about yours.
Yeah, those are pretty good. I think my indoor mistake was it's maybe the most embarrassing. In the Joe Martin stage race, stage 2, I actually did think I won a sprint, because it said in the road book, in the course book, that it finished at the top of the KOM. And like, it's like custom course. This finishes at the top of that 4-minute climb up. And so I went for it. And during the race, there's some weird stuff. The kilometers didn't quite seem to match up. And there was a little chat, but I'm like, the road book said it's a custom hilltop finish. So I just unleash all 700 watts at the top. And I got a gap, and I'm like, why is I'm on a day, guys. I'm on a day. The stage doesn't finish, though. And I look down the hill, and there it is at the bottom, and I'm absolutely heart rate as high as it could be. And then the momentum behind me, I managed to just claw back into that group and stay in it. But oh my God, what an emotion. Like, you think you won, and then you realize, because I only had the yellow jersey by a couple seconds virtually. And so I almost lost it because of that, because if I'd gapped. So that was pretty good. I got away with it, I guess, but now everybody knows. Got way more. I could write a book about all the outdoor ones, but I'll tell you a couple. One that I got away with, Enumclaw stage race. It was this weird stage race time trial. They had a rule: road bikes, Eddie Merckx only, and you only can wear one helmet for the weekend.
Okay, so hold on. Eddie Merckx is
road bikes only.
Okay.
In Eddie Merckx's day, he didn't have aero bars, and yeah. So I guess it's to cut down on cost for people traveling, whatever. They said one helmet for the whole weekend, and they probably meant no aero helmets. But here, I thought, hey, I'll just wear my aero helmet all weekend, and I gained myself a few seconds. Well, it worked. I was second in the TT. Pretty happy with that. But then I realized I line up for that crit, and I'm watching people, and I'm like, man, you're a professional bike rider. You cannot wear an ear-covered time trial helmet in this race. You just can't, man. You just can't. It's not, no. So I break down. I put the other helmet on. I just pray nobody notices. And everybody noticed. Like, the commissaire's booth, there was like 3 teams that are there, and they're like, that guy, he wore the helmet. And so, I'm like, oh, what, are you gonna kick me out because I, blah blah blah, sorry, it was a mistake. And they're like, no, 10-second time penalty. Well, the next day, guess how much I won by? 11 seconds.
Yes.
So the aero helmet was avoided. But yeah, so there's that. But the one here, I'll take the humble pie though. My first yellow jersey, maybe first one I ever had to defend, Catskills stage race way back in the day. Very hilly. Won the time trial the first day. And so the second day, I don't have a team with me. It's just me. But I have this yellow jersey, and by God, I'm going to keep it. And I'm pretty new still at this point. Like this is a couple years into my career. So I decided, you know what? Nothing's getting away with the top 10 guys. Like I'm going to cover it. And I had great legs. So I'm covering. Nothing gets away. Finally, a breakaway, the lower guys gets away after 2 hours. And then, so that breakaway goes away. We hit the next hill. And I had a buddy next to me and he remembers, he's like, you just hit the hill and you just said, oh God, no. And the legs just boom. So instead of protecting my yellow jersey by being so, rigid about my plan, I lost 10 minutes and I barely made it home. I really barely made it home. It was the worst I've ever felt in my life. So yeah, that's a mistake. And there's lots of them. So yeah, anybody who thinks that pros don't make mistakes, yeah, I got a book of them. And yeah, you just learn as you go. Like there's a lot of this stuff, like you just can't really tell someone don't do this, because you got to learn your own lessons out there. Charge your headphones, for example. Don't make grievous tactical errors, for example.
Well, the Zwift one about knowing your finish, you always have to look in the game when you start your race where it says it finishes. I mean, I did that.
I admit something here.
Yeah.
That's why I won stage 2 of Sand and Sequoias, because everybody thought it finished at the hilltop, and I was watching the count meter and was able to save the sprint.
You gotta do that.
There's one person on this podcast, PhD MD, and there's one who's not.
Well, so I did that. It wasn't Sand and Sequoias, but I was riding in some race and I had looked at the distance before on the app and I was like, got it. I was like, we got 3K to go. And it was like going up this hill. And I was with these guys and it was a mixed cat race. And they were like a bunch of cat A's. But I was in pretty good shape. And all of a sudden, these dudes are like 10 watts per kilo. And I was like going into this rando hill. And I was like, the hell are these idiots doing? And I literally thought to myself, in my head, I thought, these stupid morons don't know anything about Zwift racing. What are these idiots doing? And then 20 seconds later, we finish. And I just didn't do any. I just rode slowly up the hill at 4 watts per kilo. And I remember thinking
saying, you idiots.
I literally thought that in my head. I was like, these stupid morons. I literally thought that. And then, yeah. So watch that counter.
I smell a recurring segment here. I think we can all come up with more mistakes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. My list is so long here.
I've never.
My only regret is that I don't have video of some of them.
Yeah, that one I may have video of that. I wonder if I do. But the finish was in the middle of just a random hill. It was like a kind of it was like a 2-minute hill, but it wasn't a K1, and it just ended 300 meters up the hill.
The great part about the Sand and Sequoias one was people gave me credit, I think, because I'm a pro, and they said, hey, great attack at the end there. Keep them honest, eh? Yeah. Yep. Kept them honest.
Totally.
Just keep the lung up, but yep, kept them honest.
All right, let's get to do we have anything else here? Okay. Let's get to Joe's Guitar Shop. A couple of questions. By the way, thanks for watching. That guy, he watches all the time. Super cool. Very nice guy. We've emailed back and forth on a couple things. So, do you think the Zwift game makes your sprint harder depending on your height? He says he has to hit 700 watts and hold it to keep his avatar aero. He's 6'2", 165. So, Joe is 7 inches taller and about 3 pounds lighter than me. So,
Do you know that they have? I do know that they have a component of height in their physics. That's why we have to do a height in. And I know that for the simulations, they definitely have a height component.
Yeah.
So, and
I'm racking my brain here,
Yeah.
Really doing a Goodwill Hunting here. I'm pretty sure I read an article from Eric Schlange about the positions and what watts per kilo and cadences did the standing and the aero. I'm pretty sure it's watts per kilo that makes your avatar go aero. And I'm not sure whether it actually makes you go faster or not. But I'm pretty sure it's per kilo.
I am 99.9% positive. We could go back to TikTok on 99% positive too, but on this, that your actual avatar's position does not make any difference. It's watts per kilo. I believe it's 8 watts per kilo gets you sprinting. I think it's 70 RPM for cadence. 70 and under gets you standing. And then, like the up and down is based on where you are in the draft. But I don't think any of those positions make any difference in terms of like your CDA. So
that would make sense if Joe is 75, 77 kilos, he'd be right around like 700, 800 watts, right? 600, 700 rather.
Yeah. So I think it's just your watts per kilo, Joe. He had another question. Do you use ice packs in your jersey to keep cool in a race? I know some people do. Some people love it.
John and I have tried it, but honestly, it just got messy. Like we're in our front room, we're over carpet, so because we're indoors, we just crank the air conditioning down. Or if in the winter, we just open a window, and then it's like, everything's 45 degrees. Do you want an ice pack now? And the answer is, no.
Yeah. I mean, what I would do for me is, it's still going to have some condensate, but like do like a ice gel, like a gel pack. I wouldn't do an ice pack because it will, like outside, I know people do that because they don't, the extra evaporation is helpful and all that. If I was going to do it, I would drape a gel pack.
I got the solution, and this is from Real Life Racing. You get a pantyhose, and don't steal it from your wife. She's going to be angry. Pantyhose, buy your own, and put ice in that, and just before the race, or if the race it progressively gets overheated, keep it a little cooler or whatever, and put that back there. It melts, and then you're just left with fabric back there. It's not, the plastic on your back really is like not a nice feeling. Pantyhose for the win, and you can just make up like 3 of them, and just that's what I do on the longer races and stuff.
So
outdoor racing for triathlon, what I really liked to do, and what my coach would tell me, is like always focus on the big vascular areas, where you have a lot of blood supply, because if you can put the ice there, you're going to cool off more blood and it'll carry to the rest of your body. So always talking about the thighs are a good position. Not really much in biking unless you sit up because they're active. But very much the armpits, the face. There's actually good research that just says, even though cooling the face won't cool your core body temperature as much, like we talked about last week, like there's very much this psychological component to how hard you perceive you're going. And your brain will actually think that you are cooling your body down faster with ice on the face, ice on the ears. And so you'll get a little bit more of a performance boost. You can get away with a little less ice, something like that. The one I really like, probably not too helpful for you, Jordan and Rick, but for all the women watching this show, 110% ice pack down the bra. Like you've got extra fabric there. It's not going to get sloppy. Big vascular area like the face, also very, very sensitive to cold. It's right by the heart, actually. So you're going to get the big... you're going to get the big blood vessels that run through the anterior chest wall, and you're also going to be sitting right next to the apex of the heart, right over the aorta. Same place you would use for heating up, actually, in a cold race. Right there, fantastic spot, bonus pocket. You have to wear it anyway, so why not take advantage of it?
For the dudes, and you want to be careful with this, if you put it down the front, not all the way down, but just on that fabric that sort of covers your lower abdomen, if you put the ice sock down there, that'll like shock you cold in a hurry, and you know why. But in an emergency, that's good. But yeah, ice socks for the win. If it's like an hour race, just get like 3 of them.
I thought for a second I was gonna have to mark this one as being like super not safe for kids and stuff.
No, I didn't say it.
Yeah,
nothing.
I appreciate that.
Anything like that.
So here's the thing. He said, "Do you put it in your jersey?" I don't put anything in the jersey in a race because I'm shirtless. I don't wear a shirt, and that does 2 things. I mean, I get why people wear jerseys and stuff, but one, you're not holding anything close to you. There's more area to get rid of heat, but 2, one of your biggest methods of cooling is evaporation, because that phase change is actually pulling heat away from you. And so you have a larger area and your fan is blowing directly on you. and you're getting more of that phase change, extra cooling. And I know, Jackie, I mean, you ride without a shirt. I've seen your pictures on Instagram.
No, absolutely. I have no need to make more laundry and make myself even warmer. Like if I'm going along at 300 watts, I'm generating 300 watts of heat. That's a lot of heat, and I need all the help I can get from the fans, from the air conditioning to pull that away. So like I said, I'll take full abuse of the bra and the pocket I have to wear anyway. But yeah, I'm not wearing a jersey really ever when I train inside at this point.
Yeah.
There you go. Hot tips.
Jackie, do you put an ice pack on your face when you're cooling it off, or do you have like a cold towel or something?
It depends. A lot of time it's just my water bottle.
Well, and that's
Like
another
a
good.
nice ice cold water bottle. That's actually something really, really easy you can do is stick ice cubes in your water bottle, take it out. That'll last you a good 2-hour ride.
Yeah. And I mean, that cools down your core temperature as well as, I mean, that gets inside, obviously.
Yep.
So Joe asked, jersey doesn't wick away sweat. Jersey does wick away sweat, but a big part of your cooling mechanism is that phase change from liquid to gas. It actually takes more energy to change from liquid to gas than it does to just heat up a liquid or heat up a gas. And we're getting into like my specialty in engineering, actually. So that phase change that you're doing through the cooling on your skin is actually what will pull away more heat than just, say, wicking away sweat. So actually turning that sweat into gas is a positive in terms of...
About.
Yeah.
Sweat gas.
Well, that's, you get out of your room, it's all like warm and weird. It's your disgusting sweat gas. So
sweat gas for the win. But if you're having trouble with too much sweat staying on you and not wicking away, your fan ain't good enough, man. Yeah. It shouldn't be there for any length of time. It should be blown dry.
Yeah.
So get one of those Lasco paint drying fans and go to town.
Yeah. They're beautiful, beautiful machines. 100% upgrade your fan.
Yeah. Promo code no breakaways.
It won't get you a discount, but just type it in. Yeah. All right. So that's it for the show. Jackie, any sponsor plugs you wanna say?
Just the typical ones. I've been drinking a lot of Noon this week because all the hiking and paddleboarding I did in Michigan this weekend. Had to stay hydrated. And taking a little bit of a break from virtual racing right now, but still training hard. So big thanks to my team, Saris, and my coach at 4-Star.
You got that big 1v1 race coming up.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to be preparing that sprint.
It would actually be fun. I think our sprints are fairly similar. If we had to do FTP at all, you would murder me, but I think our sprints are close-ish. We could just do like a no breakaways coach sprint to end this thing sometime.
One lap, Crit City, Jackie versus Rick. That's good.
We just have like neutral laps. We go around a couple times, and then at some point,
no, that's just an excuse to tire Rick out.
Yeah.
It's 1-1. All right.
Joe asked one more question. As many fans as you can get is the answer. Yes. Well, how many fans? As many fans as you can get. More fans, the better. People put air conditioners in their room. They put dehumidifiers in their room. Anything you can do to cool yourself off, do that. I mean, I don't really like it just blowing straight on my face, but, that's a preference thing. Jordan, I know we got Peak Form Coaching. Check them out, peakformcoaching.com. What else?
Just elevate Webaplex. We're going racing. So check us out on social. There's probably been a lot of dead time for the team on social media here and there, but right now it's going to be full on, and you can find out how to watch these races.
Yep. We got people saying good luck this weekend. You're going to have to let us know. Click like and subscribe below. Check out the podcast on Apple Podcast, Google, Spotify, all that stuff. It should be coming out hopefully tomorrow, as long as there's no technical glitches on my side. But yeah, thanks everybody. We really appreciate you watching. Let us know any questions you have, and we will see you